Hi everyone, can you hear me? Good evening and welcome to today's live. Um, I can see some comments already. Please, if you can hear me, say hello in the comments so that I know that my volume is high enough, or if I should do something to increase the volume. Just put hello in the comments. I can see some comments already. Diaspora parties, thank you so much for joining. Yeah, I can see I'm on notification for our chat. Okay, that's good. Uh, Patience Ukwak, thank you for joining. Rose Anthony, thank you for joining. I really appreciate you guys for taking time out of your very busy schedule. Dorothy, okay, Dorothy. Sorry, I'm calling you Dorothy because I have a cousin that is called Dorothy. So what comes to my brain when I see that name is as if it's my cousin's name I'm pronouncing. Thank you for joining. Mobo, thank you so much for joining. Charity, thank you so much. Like, I'm still receiving birthday messages that I've not even responded to, even on my WhatsApp message, like too many birthday messages. But I really appreciate you guys for um celebrating me. I'll keep saying that. Thank you so much for joining me. Abraham, can you use the Lucas? Lucas, sorry if I didn't spell your name or if I didn't pronounce your name very well, I'm so sorry. Thank you for joining. Abraham, thank you for joining. Patience, thank you for joining. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate all of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me on this marathon. It's looking like a marathon session for immigration for this whole month. Yeah, which is why it is a special month, August special. Okay, so I won't waste too much of your time. I'm hoping that we can wrap up as fast as possible. Um, Today we'll be talking about Nova Scotia. I've talked about Ontario. I've talked about British Columbia. I've talked about New Brunswick. Yay, no wahala. One of these days we should meet. But I'm hardly outside though. I'm hardly outside, but I'll try as much as possible to go outside and start exploring New Brunswick. I don't know. I just need to tell myself that I need to explore New Brunswick so that I will be showcasing how New Brunswick looks like. To me, it's looking like I'm cheating New Brunswick for being silent about this beautiful province. New Brunswick is a very, very beautiful province. Very beautiful. It's just that I've not had the time to start exploring. They have lots of how will I put it now? Will I call them beaches or whatever? I don't know. They have lots of beautiful rivers and waterfront and like I said British Columbia, sorry. New Brunswick is looking like British Columbia where you don't have a flat um I call it a flat surface. If you're driving, you go up and down and up and down. In fact, I don't like driving in New Brunswick because of the way the road is or the way the terrain is. The geographical terrain is not flat. It's how will I put it now? Like you're climbing some mountains or valleys and then you're coming down and all of that. That's how it is like. Okay. So before I start answering your questions, I will talk about Nova Scotia. Yesterday was New Brunswick. Yes, uphill, downhill. Yes, like that. And me, I don't like those kind of driving movements. That's why I don't like driving in New Brunswick. Since I got my license, like if I maybe I should do a video where I'll talk about my experience so far. 1 year living in New Brunswick, the difference between living in Manitoba, 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 Winterpeg, and New Brunswick. I will talk about the difference and the cost, what you should be expecting if you want to move, what you should be expecting. Overall, you at least you get an insider information because I mean I've done the movement, so I know what it is like. I'm moving from Manitoba to New Brunswick. I'll tell you the pros and cons. Okay, so that being said, let's focus on Nova Scotia today. And to be sincere, Nova Scotia is also one of the most beautiful. I would say, well, I say Nova Scotia. I've not gone around Nova Scotia, but I've been to Halifax. And Halifax is one of the most beautiful cities that I feel is underrated in Canada. Halifax is highly, highly underrated. Like Halifax is so beautiful. When I went to downtown Halifax, the waterfront, it felt like I was in Lagos Marina. Like I know Lagos Marina is not looking beautiful, shower, but Halifax is very, very beautiful. But anyway, let's talk about Nova Scotia. So Nova Scotia immigration, of course, as usual, I'll talk about the past, what was obtainable in the past, what is currently obtainable, and what people should be expecting if you have secured admission in Nova Scotia, if you intend to study in Nova Scotia, what you should be expecting between 2026. Yeah, I'll just say 2026 thereabout because I mean they gave some updates and I'm going to be reading them out. So for Nova Scotia, what was obtainable before? They had the Nova Scotia, what do you call it now? Provincial nomination where skilled workers could just, I mean, from any province, move to Nova Scotia, work for 6 months, get a full-time job offer, and then qualify to apply for provincial nomination. They also had the option where Nova Scotia will go into the express entry pool and select people. At some point, they selected financial officers. I know some of my committee members, when I was doing French, there was a time I was doing French training, or I was coordinating, not me, I was coordinating a French training. And 2 or 3 of my committee members were part of that group that got nomination from Nova Scotia, and they were financial officers and they got their PR. Yeah. Okay, Esther, sorry, I will answer your question today. Hopefully, I'll answer your question today. So they had that option where you'll be in the pool based on your occupation. They'll just go into the pool and give you notification. They were doing that with Ontario because Ontario was doing that. Alberta was also doing that as well, where they go into the pool. Sometimes they'll select financial officers, sometimes they will select nurses, sometimes they will select early childhood education. Let's say early childhood educators. Anyway, sometimes they will select teachers, they just we're just selecting occupations from the express entry pool. So people were getting nomination through that route. And then we also have the Atlantic Immigration Program. And then at one point, something like that, Nova Scotia was also doing recruitment events as well. But it's not as if they've stopped. They have restricted the recruitment events to only healthcare. So they had this option. They also had options for physicians because, I mean, they needed more doctors. So they gave priority to people who had qualifications, medical doctors who had qualifications in the UK. They went to the UK to recruit medical doctors. They went to recruit nurses as well from the UK. So, all of these pathways were there until, of course, when RCC decided to now cut everybody's provincial nomination slots. They now decided to see how they could prioritize things. So far, they have 12 options available, like 12 immigration options available in Nova Scotia. Some of the options are good for people who can move from one province to another. So if you're in British Columbia and you feel that your job offer is in demand or your occupation is in demand in Nova Scotia, you can move to Nova Scotia. At least if you have maybe 1 year work experience, you are eligible to apply, especially if you have a permanent full-time offer from a Nova Scotia employer, right? So they have the options where you can move, which is you have the occupations in demand option where you can move from one province to another and then you get provincial nomination through Nova Scotia. They also have the critical construction worker program. That one too, if you are a construction worker, they have selected occupations. Probably I'll extract the information and paste on the community tab so that you can see it. If you're a construction worker and you're living anywhere in Canada, Nova Scotia is also prioritizing you. So recently, as of, I'm looking at my screen, as of, what do you call it now? As of July 16, 2025, that was some less than a month ago, they now brought an update to say the occupations that they want to prioritize for 2025. As of July 16, 2025, Nova Scotia said they are prioritizing healthcare and social assistance. So if you are working as a healthcare worker, if you're working as a social assistance worker, your occupation is prioritized in Nova Scotia. If you're working as a construction worker, I mentioned construction before, your occupation is prioritized. These two occupations are the priority occupations that they are giving provincial nominations to, especially those whose work permits will be expiring in 2025. Again, those whose work permit will be expiring in 2025, they are giving these people preference over others. So if your work permit is not expiring in 2025, and if you don't fall under the priority occupations of healthcare and social assistance and construction, it means that even if you submit your application today, even if you qualify, you may not get provincial nomination from Nova Scotia. And I think that most of the provinces are also doing the same thing because of the limited slots. They don't want a situation where people who have maybe 3 years postgraduate work permit are quickly getting their, let's say they have 3 years postgraduate work permit, they just graduated, got a job offer, then they are getting provincial nomination. Whereas somebody who has been in the system, their work permit is about to expire, they are not getting provincial nomination. So they are trying to keep as much as they can and giving priority to those whose work permit will be expiring this year. So if your work permit is not expiring this year and you're hoping to get a nomination from Nova Scotia, except maybe you're a medical doctor or a nurse, then I'll say yes, you can be prioritized. Other than that, you will have to wait for next year for you to get provincial nomination from Nova Scotia because your work permit is not expired. I mean, when you fill the form or apply online, you have to provide those details on when your permit will be expiring. So that's option. That's what they are prioritizing. Then they also said they will look at regional needs and people who are likely to stay long term in Nova Scotia. Now, some of these provinces, or most of them, are now realizing that people just come to get PRO and run away, right? So, and if you know me, I'll always say this: if a province gives you nomination, please stay. I'm an advocate for staying because I feel it is not good to use and dump. I see people who, I mean, they get provincial nomination, let's say from provinces like Nova Scotia, and then all of a sudden you are now feeling like the place is too local. I cannot stay here. There are job opportunities in Ontario. Let me move, and then you now move. I see it as use and dump. I don't it is you can do it. If you want to do, you do it. But me, I feel like using and dumping the province is not good. It could also bite you when you're applying for citizenship, especially if you do not do your proper due diligence of notifying the province why you are leaving. If you have genuine reasons of why you want to leave, for example, you have medical reasons where you feel that if you have a medical situation and the medical professionals in Nova Scotia will not be able to solve your problem, and the experts are in Ontario, and you want to leave because of that reason, then I'll say, yes, you can leave and provide evidence that this is the reason why you're leaving. But if you bring up job reason for leaving, it's a valid reason. Job reason is a valid reason. But I feel that, I mean, at the point when you were getting your provincial nomination, it was not a reason. So why is it all of a sudden a reason? So it's better for you to stay for a period of time, maybe 1.5 years, 2 years. At least give them time. Give them some time for yourself before you move. And then document before you move. Because if you don't document and then people are having delays getting their citizenship is as a result of issues like this. Okay, so that being said, Nova Scotia is prioritizing healthcare. Again, I'm repeating myself, healthcare and social assistance. There are lots of comments in the comment section that anyway, so they are prioritizing healthcare, social assistance, and construction, right? Then for the construction, I said I was going to I'm going to put the list of occupations in construction that they are prioritizing. And then there's also the pathway for occupations in demand. So they have different pathways. For the skilled worker pathway that everybody can apply, they are prioritizing that. Then for occupations in demand, they are prioritizing nurse aid, light duty cleaners. Can you imagine? They are prioritizing cleaners. Like, right? It's so funny. They are prioritizing cleaners. They are prioritizing transport truck drivers, heavy equipment operators, and then again, construction trades helpers again. So it's so funny that I'm seeing cleaners as part of the occupations in demand in Nova Scotia under the occupations in demand category. So if you feel that you're a cleaner, or if you're in Nova Scotia, or if you're somewhere and you feel that you're working as a cleaner and where you are, there is no opportunity for you, please move to Nova Scotia. They are prioritizing your occupation in Nova Scotia. So move there so that you can get your provincial nomination. So that one is for the occupations in demand. Again, the construction, I said I'm going to place it, occupations in demand, I'm going to place it on the YouTube post so that you can see it. Then they also have the one for international graduates in demand. International graduates from people who graduated from Nova Scotia. If you are an international graduate and you graduate from Nova Scotia, you also have this option as well. And they are also still prioritizing mostly healthcare professionals, paramedics, pharmacy technician, nurse aides, early childhood educators, right? So if you finish from Nova Scotia and you're working as an early childhood educator or assistant, your occupation is also in demand. It's looking like other occupations that are not within the healthcare or social setting or construction, they might have a hard time. So for people who are schooling, or if you intend to school in Nova Scotia, please take note of what is happening. If you're doing a business management program or a business administration program, let's say you're going to Cape Breton, I know of Cape Breton University. Let's say you are attending Cape Breton University and you are doing a program in business management or supply chain. Sadly, that particular occupation is not listed as one of the priority occupations. So you have to give yourself wisdom and pivot. I keep saying this thing. Do not look at what you studied, look at what they are looking for and quickly switch. You can start gaining the work experience as a student so that if you get the work experience as a student, you can take advantage of the AIP stream. I even mentioned it yesterday. I also need to mention that even for AIP, they selected the occupations that they want for AIP. They went as far as that to select occupations they want for AIP. So it means if you do a business management program and you get a business management job from an AIP designated employer, they might not prioritize you. They'll prioritize somebody who has healthcare experience or a healthcare job over you that did business management, even if you schooled in Nova Scotia. So again, you should be very, very careful. If you're schooling in Nova Scotia, try as much as possible to align your job search or your job with the occupations that are in demand. Don't say, oh, I did business management. I must get a business management job and I will use it to get PR. Well, if you want to use that, there's also an option for express entry, which means if you want to wait, fine. But if you don't want to wait, and if you want to get your provincial nomination as fast as possible, it's better you pivot. And again, I'm repeating myself, they are only prioritizing those whose work permit are expiring in 2025. And same thing for next year as well, 2026, they are still prioritizing the same sectors, healthcare, social assistance, and construction. So you have to think twice if you are in Nova Scotia. Okay, so I'll move on to the next pathway, which is the well, this one is entrepreneur pathway. Good thing about Nova Scotia is that they and British Columbia, they have one of the second least amount for entrepreneurs. So I mentioned that Alberta has the least amount to invest for entrepreneurs, which is $50,000, then followed by BC and Nova Scotia. So they have $100,000. If you have $100,000 to invest in Nova Scotia, you can take advantage of the entrepreneurial pathway. So for those of you who are outside Canada looking to come and invest in Canada, this is one good option. 100,000 card, you invest it, and you get provincial nomination. Okay, so that's for entrepreneur. Then I also need to mention that they'll look at your net worth. You must have at least a net worth of either 400,000 or $600,000. So 400,000 depends on the location. If you're investing outside the Halifax region, Halifax is the capital of Nova Scotia. If you're investing outside Halifax, you need to have a net worth of $400,000. But if you're investing within Halifax, your net worth should be around $600,000. And of course, you will not invest $100,000 if you want to invest within Halifax. You'll be investing above that amount of money. Okay, so I'll move on to the next pathway, which is the physician pathway. For a long time, this pathway has been there. It has been there. And like I mentioned earlier, they are prioritizing doctors who have their qualification from the United States, from the United Kingdom, mainly from the United Kingdom, because they always go there to do recruitment events, to recruit doctors who are already practicing in the United Kingdom. So if you know anybody, any doctor who is looking to move to Nova Scotia, just let them know that Nova Scotia is always going to look for doctors and nurses in the United Kingdom to recruit. There are lots of job opportunities within the healthcare sector, and they're looking to fill those spots. They even go as far as giving provisional license, right? There was a time, I think there was a time they wanted to include some other countries, like some other African countries. I don't know what happened. It was a news that I think I read that news, but I don't know what happened, whether they were able to proceed with that or not. So Nova Scotia again is open to people who are medical professionals already practicing in the UK. You can apply, get a job offer, get an interim license to start practicing, and then you apply for provincial nomination. So that's it for the physician pathway. Then they have, again, they have like two options for doctors. So there's no point talking about the two options again when they are still the same, almost similar thing. Then they have the labor market priorities, which I mentioned. Labor market priority, I mentioned that some time ago, was it 2 years ago, they just go into the express entry pool and select occupations that they need based on their labor market priorities. At a point, they were selecting financial officers. At some point, they selected nurses, especially they will put a very high bar that say nurses with CLB 9 in language score. They will select those people from the express entry pool. So it didn't matter whether you had a very high CRS score, as long as you had a particular language, meet a particular language benchmark, there was a potential for you getting an invitation to apply or a letter of advice to apply from Nova Scotia. They were picking pharmacists as well, pharmacy technicians and all of that. So that pathway is still there, but for a long time now, they've not done it. They've not done it. So I mean, it's a 50-50 chance that they will do that, considering that they have just limited provincial nomination slots. Okay, then they still have the labor market priorities is still the same thing as express entry, which I've talked about. They just go into the pool and select people that they want. Sorry, I'm looking at my second screen so that I'm telling you the correct information. Okay. So, and then the last option is actually an option that they did sometime last year, where they went into the express entry pool and invited specific people. So you have those people that they invite, they were pharmacists, pharmacy technicians. They just went into the pool and selected them. Those group of people, some of them are still pending. So they created a special pilot program for them to give them nomination at the end of the day. So that's just a summary of the options available in Nova Scotia. And if I'm going to repeat myself again so that people who didn't start this session with me on time, you could get the main details. The main details are Nova Scotia is prioritizing healthcare, social assistance, and construction workers. That's what they are prioritizing for now. Any other occupation is not prioritized, meaning if you are working as a customer service personnel, if you're working as a bank manager, if you're working as a business development manager, there's a potential of you not getting provincial nomination from Nova Scotia because those occupations do not align with the occupations that are in demand in that province. And the number two thing is they are prioritizing those whose work permits will be expiring this year. So if your work permit is not expiring this year and you submit your application to Nova Scotia, you might not get any feedback from them until maybe towards the period when your work permit is about to expire. If your work permit will expire 2026, then fine. You have enough time especially those who are not working in the occupations that they are prioritizing at the moment. If your work permit will expire in 2026, please, I'm begging you in the name of God, do not sit down on your manager job because it is looking very good and they are paying fat salary, and miss out on the opportunity of getting your PR through one of the occupations that are in demand. I see these things every day and I keep saying it all over all the time. It's better to align yourself with one of the occupations that are in demand so that you can get your PR as fast as possible, and then you move on with your life, than getting the job that you love but does not align with you getting your PR. So it's either you fall into the category of people that want to do French again to help your ministry, help your PR ministry. If you fall into the category of people that want to do French, like learn French to help your PR ministry, then that's fine. Then we also have one ROCIP community in Nova Scotia. There's one ROCIP community in Nova Scotia, and I've not checked if their designated employers are hiring or not. Probably I will check, and if I see the information that they are hiring, I'll put it in the community tab. These days, I'm putting more information on my YouTube because I want more people from my Instagram page to be joining this live session so that they can get more of the information on my YouTube. Anybody that does not join my live session will not get the information. So I'll put those details on the community tab, hopefully before tomorrow's live session, so that you can have all the information that you need. Okay, so I'll start answering your questions now. I hope I can answer all the questions today. And I keep saying that I am owing. So this is what's happening. I've gone back to some of my videos to check some of the questions I'm supposed to answer that was owing. And I could not even, like, the chat display was not displayed. So I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure it out. But because I didn't want to spend time to start figuring it out, I just felt, okay, maybe when I have less time, I'll look at it again. Okay, so let's start with the first question. Please, what do you think about Northwest College in Edmonton? Is there a pathway for PR with an in-demand course? Okay, so again, we've not done Alberta. Maybe we'll do Alberta tomorrow so that you can get more details. The options in Alberta, there are a lot of options in Alberta. It's just that Alberta has its own population. They are beginning to have their population issues, like Ontario and British Columbia has. So a lot of people, when they did Alberta, there was a campaign that the Alberta government did, Alberta is calling, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people now moved from different provinces like Ontario and British Columbia to Alberta. And as a result of that, they now have too many people such that their occupations in demand, they are still prioritizing healthcare, they are prioritizing education, they are prioritizing technology. Good thing is they are still prioritizing technology, right? The competition is much in Alberta because you have lots of temporary residents who moved from Ontario and BC to Alberta. So you have a lot of people who are already there trying to get their nomination. So if you school in Northwest College in Edmonton, you will also be in competition with people who are there. I don't know which program you're going to study for me to say, oh, you have a chance, or you should better start thinking of moving to any of the rural communities under the rural renewal stream in Alberta. If I know what you intend to study in Northwest College, I'll be able to give you a better advice. But just know that the competition is high. Just as the competition for nomination is high in Ontario, same thing is happening in Alberta as we speak. Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. I have a visit visa. Do you think it's a good idea to come in and search for a job? Well, you know, the policy that was in place that allowed people to convert from visiting visa, they've removed that policy. So that policy is no longer there. So if you come and search for a job, if you get a job offer, you have to leave and then come back. So except you have that mindset that, okay, during the period you're in, you want to build your connections. Just say you are trying to build your connections that could land you a job. If you are lucky to land a job based on your skills and competence, fine. But if you don't get a job, of course, you still leave. But know that if you get a job offer, you still have to apply from outside Canada because you cannot convert from inside Canada. You have to apply. You have to apply for, like, you have to go outside of Canada, apply, and come back. Okay. So I'll move on to the next question. Oh, Mary, thank you for joining. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome to our community. Please, we are very happy and good people here. Like we like to help people in this community. Okay. Is it possible to come to Canada with a visa to claim asylum? So this question, if you want to come and claim asylum as a visitor, fine. Nobody's stopping you from claiming asylum, but you have to, if you're coming in, make sure that you're doing that asylum claim immediately, right? Because they have now put in policies that are restricting people such that you came in as a visitor, you stayed for 5 months, you stayed for 6 months, and then you now decide, oh, you want to now claim asylum. It will come and bite you. So if you want to claim asylum, again, what basis are you claiming asylum? What is the basis? Because if you don't have a solid basis for claiming asylum, you will be among the set of people that will be praying every day. You will not be at peace, right? Even if they've given you work permit, you will not be at peace. So what's your basis? Like, you need to have a solid basis for claiming asylum. Is the basis for claiming asylum, does it align with the United Nations? Like UN, they have reasons. They set aside specific criteria where people can claim asylum. If you're experiencing torture, if you're experiencing um there are lots of bases, right? So you have to determine if your bases are solid enough. If it is not solid enough, if you have alternatives, they'll be asking you questions like, okay, so if you said Lagbaja is flogging you in Lagos, why didn't you go to Abuja? Is Lagbaja coming to flog you in Abuja? Those questions, they'll ask those questions. So you need to have a solid basis for claiming asylum. And if you do not have a solid basis, I typically do not recommend claiming asylum. I do not recommend it at all. It's only those who are genuinely running from serious issues like persecution, serious issues. I'll give an example for those who are from Nigeria. You know Bobrisky. If Bobrisky wants to come and claim asylum, he has enough evidence to say that the government of Nigeria or some individuals are, trying to frustrate his life. He could say that, and it will fly. He will get it because it's all over in the media. He has evidence in the media to present that this is my evidence. I've passed through a lot of issues, right? He has enough evidence to show. But if you don't have evidence that you are passing through issues, you're passing through situations that will make you run away from your country, then there's no point coming to claim asylum. Okay. Next question. What's the prospect of a PS worker in Ontario in getting a job before moving there? And how long does it take to be nominated? So a prospect from Ontario, right? If you get a job offer and you move to Nova Scotia, you should be eligible if your occupation, okay, yes, you said you're a PSW, so your occupation is actually one of the occupations in demand or occupations that they are looking for in Nova Scotia. It depends on the stream that you're looking out for. Are you looking out for the AIP stream, or you're looking for the occupations in demand stream? If you're looking for the occupations in demand stream, right, they are not prioritizing the number of months you must have lived there. They didn't say anything like, oh, you must have lived in Nova Scotia for 5 years or 6 months. They didn't mention anything like that. They only said, get a full-time permanent job offer from a Nova Scotia employer and have 1 year of work experience related to the job. That's what is stated there under the occupations in demand stream. So if you get a full-time job offer from a Nova Scotia employer and you want to apply under the occupations in demand stream, then you qualify because there's no restriction on how long you must have lived in Nova Scotia. Right? So that's what is stated there. Then if you want to prioritize this, if you want to, let's say you want to go through the skilled worker stream. For the skilled worker stream, they are saying you must have at least 6 months work experience with the same employer. You must have at least 6 months work experience with the employer. That's what they are saying. So employers, if you want to go through the skilled worker stream, 6 months work experience. Occupation in demand stream, they didn't mention how many months you should have with the employer. Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. What's the possibility? I think I've answered this. I've already answered this. I've already answered this question. Okay, I studied DSW in Ontario, but got a casual position as an educational assistant. Would that qualify my spouse for a work permit? First of all, you have to search the selected occupations list if educational assistant is part of the occupation. Just give me some seconds. Let me open it because, I mean, there are too many occupations on that list. I cannot put all the occupations in my head. So I will open it up and see if education assistant is part of the occupations. Okay, just in some seconds, I'll give you the answer now. Selected tier 3 occupation, education assistant. So there's elementary and secondary school teacher assistant. That's what they said. Elementary and secondary school teacher assistant. There is no education assistant. I'm not seeing anything education assistant here. That's under tier 3. If I check tier 2, there's nothing related to education in tier 2. So education assistant, again, you have to check the tier code, or sorry, the NOC code. Does your own NOC code align with 43100? Does your NOC code align with 43100? If it aligns with 43100, then you qualify. Elementary and secondary school teacher assistant. Are you providing educational assistant role in an elementary and secondary school? If you are, then you qualify. But if you're not, that means you don't, your occupation does not qualify. Okay. Does this mean that if someone has 3 years of PGWP, they would consider the person until when it's about to expire? Yes, that's what they are saying. That if your work permit has not reached its expiry date, then you do not qualify to be getting provincial nomination this year. So you should be looking out for the express entry route if you are within the age bracket for express entry. If you are not within the age bracket for express entry, you should be learning French to boost your points. So you should just be doing something that will make you be able to get at least an invitation to apply or a nomination when the time comes, instead of just sitting down and waiting and doing nothing. Or you move to another province. But other provinces are also prioritizing people. There's like New Brunswick as well. They're also prioritizing those whose work permit are about to expire. Okay. So next question, RCC required English test for PGWP. I applied without test. Now I got T30 letter. Is it possible to switch to CWP business? I think this question, you've sent me an email and I've not even had the time to respond. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I saw your email. I've not had the time to go through emails. A lot of issues that I've been dealing with. Okay, so yes, you can switch to a T13 work permit application. You can switch to a T13 work permit application instead of PGWP. But again, you should also consider that they look at your occupation as well when you're applying for your work permit. They look at your occupation and the CLB level for your occupation. So what is the CLB level for your occupation? If your CLB level for your occupation is, let's say, a CLB 4 or a CLB 5, you're good to go. But if the CLB level for your occupation is a CLB 7, that means they will still come back and they might still have some queries around your work permit application. But in terms of switching, yes, you can switch. You do not need to apply for PGWP. You can go ahead and apply for you have to apply, first of all, you have to apply for your PR first, right? You don't apply for the work permit without the PR, because you have to show evidence that you submitted the application for PR and then attach the evidence to your work permit application under T13. Okay, next, is it possible to get into a trade apprenticeship school from outside of Canada? Yes, it's possible. It's just that they are very, very limited. What kind of trade do you want to, like, what occupation do you want to, what trade occupation do you want? There are lots of them, but they are limited, but you can get admission for such programs. And funny enough, most of those schools, they're actually saturated in Ontario. And these days, I'm trying my best to educate people to avoid Ontario as much as they can. Recently, some lawyers are trying to, how will I put it now? Some lawyers wrote to the Ontario immigration minister, telling him that his name is it David Pashini or something? Either David Pashini, that's his name, telling him that the Ontario nomination program is ruining a lot of lives. It is spoiling a lot of things for people because there's significant delays in issuing nomination from Ontario, which is not good. So they were trying to encourage him to set up systems to fast track provincial nominations. You can imagine somebody apply for a provincial nomination and then you're not getting the nomination until 1 year, 2 months later, right? 1 year, 2 months later. And if your PGWP is about to expire, it means your PGWP could expire, you don't get that nomination. So you either switch to visitor's record or you get an LMIA job offer just to continue, or LMIA exemption offer just to continue working. So they've written to him. I don't know, maybe in the next few days, we will see something in the news concerning Ontario nomination. Ontario nomination right now is stressful. So, and I pity those who are in Ontario. If you're in Ontario, again, you have the option of moving. You have the option of moving to provinces that can easily give you your nomination as fast as possible. If they don't clear their backlog, it means that those who could not get nomination this year will now automatically move into next year's slots. Already those who could not get their nomination last year, they've eaten almost half of this year's slots. Then you now have people that will now be pushed to next year. So if you're in Ontario and you're not yet working with an employer that is designated under RCIP, Ontario provincial nomination is very, very difficult. Please just find another option. And if you want to know your option, take advantage of the August special consultation discount that is ongoing. After the end of this month, the price will go up back. Okay, so next question. Is it true that before your PGWP is approved, your time spent working won't count towards EE or CEC? Yes. Before your PGWP is approved. Oh, sorry. Let's get it clear, right? If you apply for your PGWP, you're on maintained status. So if you apply, your time starts counting when you apply towards EE and Canadian experience class. As long as you show them evidence that, okay, this is the date I applied for my postgraduate work permit and I started working, right? So it's supposed to count towards express entry and Canadian experience class. It is experience that you've had during your days as a student that doesn't count. But if you submitted your application for permanent residence, If you submitted your application, your PGWP application, then it should start counting for you. But the experience you were having as a student does not typically count towards express entry. It's only for those who are applying through AIP that it counts for. Other than that, it doesn't count towards express entry or CEC for your student experience. Okay. So, claiming asylum as a student, please, I am begging you in God's name. I said earlier that the government has put in place they've put in place some rules around those who came in and have stayed in Canada for a period, right? You've stayed in Canada for 1 year, 6 months, and then you want to apply for asylum, it will be bounced. It will be bounced back. It will be bounced, right? You've been in Canada, you've already been in Canadian soil for a long period of time. So what's the justification for claiming asylum? Except you just don't care, right? You just want to continue working to gather more money for yourself. But of course, when you're trying to claim asylum just because you need the work permit to gather more money, you should also factor in the cost of paying a lawyer to fight your case. You will bankrupt see, it's like you'll be working for a lawyer. That is just the truth. The work permit you're trying to get is like you'll be working for a lawyer because you will pay a lawyer, you will pay their lawyer fees. And to pay lawyer fees is not cheap, right? To pay lawyer fees for your asylum case is not cheap. So why would you want to do something that you know at the end of the day will not be approved? Because they've already mentioned it that if you've lived in Canada for a certain period of time, you claiming asylum will not, there's no guarantee that you will get the asylum claim approved. So why do you want to be spending your days working for a lawyer, right, to fight a case? Some people will be thinking, okay, if I claim asylum as a student, I'll get work permit. I will start working. When I start working, I'll be able to gather enough money. Some people are strategizing around it to gather enough money. They know that they will not stay at the end of the day, but they just want to use the period to stay, gather enough money, and then return back. If you fall into that category, I don't know why you're thinking like that. So I know that most of the pathways are not easy, but most of the provincial governments are trying to see what they can do to absorb as much as they can. And if you do not have a genuine reason to claim asylum, please don't. Please don't if you don't have a genuine reason, so that it doesn't clog the system. Okay. Why did RCC decide to reduce the provincial quota when they are supposed to increase it, as there are a lot of people in Canada looking for nomination? So, because a lot of people have been, how will I put it now? During COVID, right? They made some policies, and I'm going to say it here. They made some policies that I feel led to the current situation that we are in. And then some bad actors also took advantage of the situation that we are in right now. That they took advantage, and then we are now in this situation, and a lot of people came into Canada. During COVID, when they made that policy where they said visitors can come in and seek for job offers, and if they get job offers, they can convert to work permits. A lot of people came in as visitors and were able to convert to work permits. And at the same time, that policy was made because there were certain restrictions. So those who were already in Canada as visitors could not do anything. They had to make that policy so that those people could get job offers and sustain themselves during that lockdown period. And then after the lockdown period, they still continued that policy. They should have ended that policy. So that's number one. Number two was that some of the colleges in Ontario, they saw that international students was booming. The international students route, people coming to school in Canada, it was a booming business. So they decided to open more campuses. Like, they were doing some things that, making Canada look like these people are not serious. You could see a school admit students more than 5,000 people, right? More than 10,000, beyond their capacity. And then they don't have accommodation for these people. Then they will go and be teaching them in, let's say, a mall or a cinema studio or something like that. They were taking lectures in places that, I mean, didn't make sense. Even some people who came to school, when they say, okay, this is your campus, and you're looking at, is this really a school, or this is just one building? They were doing all those kind of things. So the government were like, this is not good. And in trying to put in the measures in place, and of course, Canadians were complaining that there were too many people. So the government tried to listen to the Canadians and then decided to reduce the quota for provincial nominations, such that if you come in and you're not able to get your status, you should leave, according to them. If you remember, there was one interview where was it an interview or parliament? There was a parliament session where they were asking Mac Miller a question of those whose permits were about to expire, what if they were going to leave? And Mac Miller was responding that yes, ordinarily, people whose status were expiring should leave. But of course, some people have invested a lot in this Canadian journey, and I won't blame them. I don't blame anybody at all. I mean, when you have invested in coming to Canada, especially coming as a student, with the expectation that within a certain time frame you get your status, and then things just change overnight and is impacting you, you will not live like that now. You want to see how you could stay, to just see how you can recoup your investments. So that's the situation. So it's just a policy that is frustrating, but this is the reality we are in, which is why I'm trying as much as I can to educate people on how to position themselves to get their status, because people are still getting their PR status again, and some provinces are now seeing that, okay, if this is how it's looking like, then let's prioritize those whose work permit will be expiring. At least if those people get nomination and get their PR, then that's fine. While those whose permits will not expire this year, they can wait next year's slots, they can take advantage of that. So they want to be doing it like that, so that, I mean, there will be a balance in the system. All right. Okay, so next question. I want to apply for 6-month continuing care program, Nova Scotia Community College, but it's not PGWP eligible. Is it advisable? Are you sure? Continuing care, not PGWP eligible? Nova Scotia Community College is a PGWP eligible school. Are you sure? Is it the program that is not PGWP eligible? Please check again. I'm surprised continuing care is not, like, continuing care assistant program is not PGWP eligible. I'm really surprised. I have to look at it. Okay. Is health analytics and health occupation? Well, health analytics is a combination of health and tech, right? It's a combination of health and tech. Everything has to do with the job description. What is on your job description? Which knock code does the job description align more with? Does it align more with tech, the tech part of the, I mean, knock code, or does it align more with healthcare? If it aligns more with the tech part, that means you fall under tech, maybe like more like a data analyst, right? So but if it aligns more with the healthcare part, then you fall under healthcare. So look at the job description. If the job description is what will tell you, at least 80% of the job description should tell you where your occupation lies, if it falls under tech or if it falls under healthcare. Okay. MSc in Nova Scotia or Manitoba, which one is MS? Is it a Master of Science in Nova Scotia or Manitoba? Which one will you recommend? Okay, so depends on the program. Again, if it is Manitoba, Manitoba has left, like I said, they've left their occupations in demand list. They've not touched it. They've not said that they are prioritizing healthcare or education. If you are an admin officer, you can still get nomination from Manitoba. If you are a project manager, you can still get. If you're an accountant, you can still get. Like all the occupations under Manitoba occupations in demand list, they are still intact. They are still there. If you're a paralegal, you can still get nomination from Manitoba. They've not reduced, they've not said we are only taking this set category of people, right? So you have to ask yourself, what's your occupation? Is your occupation part of the occupations that are prioritized in Nova Scotia? If it is, then yes. Is your occupation you're in demand in Manitoba? Then if it is, then yes, choose Manitoba. So you have to choose which one aligns with your occupation. Okay. Education assistance, both kindergarten, elementary, even secondary school. We provide care to all of these children of all ages, both in classroom and outside. Anyway, but that particular NOC code, right? The NOC code that is part of the selected occupations for those who want to apply for their spouses to be eligible to apply for spousal open work permit extension says elementary and secondary school teacher assistant. That is what it's saying. Elementary and secondary school teacher assistant. It did not say educational assistant, right? You have the early childhood educator or an educator assistant, I think it's 422 something. You have that particular NOC code, and then you have the 43100. So check if the occupation aligns with 43100. If it aligns with 43100, then that's fine. So you cannot claim to be an educational assistant and also elementary and secondary school teacher assistant. Those are two different things. There are two different NOC codes and they have different job descriptions. So please look at ESDC website and look at the job description very, very well. You might be claiming to be an educational assistant, whereas you're supposed to be a teacher assistant or something like that. RCC knows how they differentiate the two. So look at the job description critically for both of them. They will tell you the difference, right? They will tell you for this particular category, maybe you should have a certain qualification, blah, blah, blah. Or you should have a minimum of 1 year work experience, and then you should have these duties, or you should be doing these duties. Same thing for the teacher assistant. They will mention the duties. So you have to look at the duties to see if there is a difference. If there is a difference, then you choose the one that aligns with your job description. Okay. I know that there are overlapping NOC codes. There are lots of overlapping NOC codes, and it's a problem. This overlapping NOC codes is always a problem. But what they are looking for is 80% of your job duties. If your 80% of your job duties actually align with the main NOC code itself. If 80% of your job duties align, then you're fine. But if it doesn't align, that means it's a problem. They'll refuse the application. Okay. What is the age bracket for express entry? Honestly, this question. So I have just 5 more minutes. I'll try to answer the question. Age bracket for express entry these days, right? Is those who are younger, below 30, they get the maximum point for age. But it doesn't mean those who are above 30 will not still get invitation. There are those who are above 30. There are those who are 40 years that are still getting invitation to apply under express entry. It is based on the category of your occupation. The category of your occupation, gone are the days where they will do general invitation draw. The general draw is only for people with Canadian experience. Only Canadian experience class are the ones that benefit from general draw. People from outside Canada no longer benefit from general draw. People from outside Canada, you can only benefit from the category-based occupations. So you have to choose your occupation or select your occupation that aligns. And if you have very good scores, let's say within the 450, 470, 480 range, there's a potential. Again, depends on your occupation as well. Okay. What are the opportunities after learning French? So the opportunities after learning French is very, very, like you have lots of opportunities. You can secure a job offer with an employer that is Francophone. In terms of permanent residence opportunities, you have the Francophone category selection, right? You have that selection, and you can get your PR through that route, especially for those who do not want to switch their occupations. I recommend French. And if you fall within a certain age bracket as well, because I mean, you should at least meet the minimum threshold. Apart from the French category-based selection for express entry, you also have the FCIP, and you also have the opportunity of extending your work permit if you have a CLB5. As long as you have a CLB5, you can extend your work permit, and it's LMIA exempt. So those are the options. And for bilingual people, you earn more money if you're working in an organization that values bilingual workers, not within the call center. I know that most organizations in Canada, some of them want to push bilingual people to the call centers, which does not make any sense anyway. But if you're a bilingual professional, let's say you're a bilingual human resources professional, if they want to pay an English professional that is a human resources professional, they'll pay the person, let's say, I'm giving an estimated amount per annum, let's say $50,000 per annum. But the bilingual person will be earning $20,000 extra more than the person that's just English. So those are the advantages. I mean, if you are learning French and you're already speaking French, please do not shy away from using your bilingual advantage. I have always used my bilingual. In fact, for where I am now, like from when I finished school till now, my bilingual whatever has always given me that advantage. Although my French is rusty, I've not been speaking French, but I've always had that advantage, even from Nigeria. I've always had that advantage because I studied French, and I just didn't study French. I had a very, very good score. Good, what do you call it now? I graduated with a second class upper in French language. Although I've used it to swallow. I've used it to swallow, but but I had that advantage. I was always having that advantage right from time, by studying French. So, and even when I came to Canada, it's still the same thing. I still had that advantage. And even when I was working, like when they are trying to lay people off, they hardly lay, except the person is very, very lazy job-wise, then I'll say yes. Then the person can lose their job. But if you're a bilingual person, they are looking for you. You are hot cake, so they will not want to drop you. They will rather drop somebody who is not bilingual and keep you. Those are the advantages. Those are the perks. Of course, and even with government, tomorrow now, if I say I want to go around or become the Prime Minister of Canada, I'll be prioritized because I can speak both French and English. Okay, although my French is rusty, don't mind me. Okay, so that being said, that's the advantage of French. Which other question again? Last question before. Wow. There are so many questions. So what do we do now? And my time is already up. What do we do? There are so many questions that I've not answered today. Jeez. Okay, diaspora parties. Let me answer your question. Can someone count work experience with job agency as a PSW? Example, getting like 3 months experience with a particular job agency and getting 7 months experience with another. Can it be used for 1 year work experience? Yes. Depend on the category you want to use it for. For express entry, they don't care whether you have a full-time job or a part-time job. As long as your job description aligns with the NOC code, you're fine. You can do part-time, casual, combination of all of them for express entry. Same thing for Canadian experience class. You can combine part-time, full-time, casual, and then use your 1 year work experience. At least it should fall within the NOC code, NOC 0, 1 to 3, right? I mean, NOC or tier code tier 0, 1 to 3. Yeah. So that's it. Are we hopeful that NS will change the pattern next year about first considering those whose permits have to expire? If not, will there be any point of moving there from another province? Depends on the province you are in. NS has said for this year and next year, they are prioritizing those whose work permits are expiring. So if you have a 3 years work permit and you move to NS, you might not get your PR, except those whose work permit are expiring this year or next year. So let's say your work permit is expiring next year and you get a job offer in NS, then I'll say, okay, move, because your work permit is expiring next year. You have a valid employer that can hire you and endorse you. right? Then move, because it is, especially if your occupation is in a priority occupation, move to NS, they will prioritize you and give you your provincial nomination. But if it is not expiring next year, you have 3 more years, then there's no point moving to Nova Scotia. There's no point. Okay. Truck driver, can I come to Canada with a visiting visa? Yes, you can come to Canada with a visiting visa. Even Nova Scotia, they are prioritizing truck drivers under Atlantic Immigration Program, under AIP. So if you get a trucking job from any of the designated employers in Nova Scotia, then you apply for PR through AIP. Okay, one more question. Is insecurity and hardship in Nigeria a good ground to claim the kidnapping and killing in my state is getting out of hand? Well, I won't lie to you. Let me just say the truth. When I was doing my licensing, when I was preparing, or when I was doing the program that would give me the license to practice, if there was one course that gave me problems, is this asylum claim. When I saw the depth of the course, I told myself that I don't think I have this mental capacity for that. So I'm not the best person to really give any form of advice. I'm just giving a general scenario, right? If you want to get a proper advice, you have to meet somebody who has the IRB license. You will see some people. For me, I'm only putting ROCIC. Some people put ROCIC/IRB. That IRB means they are licensed to provide service to asylum claimants. So if you're asking me, I'm only telling you based on the knowledge I have when I was doing my program to get my license, and based on current trends, right? I'm not in a better position. I don't have the license to give you advice. I'll tell you the truth. So you better consult with somebody that has ROCIC/IRB license to give you a better advice, right? If you have genuine reasons and you have genuine concerns, if you feel hardship, it's better you consult. I don't have the license to give advice for that area. I will tell you the truth, and I'm being genuine, and I cannot come and start, because this is a public domain. A lot of people are watching this video, so nobody come and start quoting me to say, oh, you gave this advice. No, I don't want wahala. So it's better to consult with somebody that has the ROCIC/IRB license. If your plan is to come and claim asylum, if you're a student and you want to claim asylum, please go and talk to an ROCIC, somebody that has the license to give you a better advice. But for me, I don't have the capacity, I don't have the mental capacity to really start explaining in depth what actually happens when it comes to claiming asylum and the process. That's why you don't see me coming to talk much about it. I don't talk about it because that's not my domain, right? Every other type of immigration pathway, every other one, I am a champion in those ones. I will tell you the ones that I can carry first. But the one that I'm carrying last for this aside. I'm carrying big last, or big F. If there's F, I'm carrying F for that particular area. Okay. I hope I have answered your question. Please don't be offended. I don't have the capacity to answer that question. Okay. Let me just take this one more last question. Yes. So work experience during studies counts towards AIP for Atlantic region. If you're schooling in that region, if you schooled in New Brunswick, the work experience you have as a student counts towards AIP, right? If you school in Nova Scotia, the same thing. If you school in Prince Edward Island, the same thing. If you schooled in Newfoundland and Labrador, the same thing. The work experience you have during your study days counts towards experience for AIP, but does not count towards experience for express entry. Okay, so with that, I hope I tried to answer some of these questions. Yeah, it's true anyway, to an extent. So I think I've tried to answer some of your questions. I know that there are still some questions that I've not been able to answer. I'm just hoping that I will compile all of these questions. If you were part of when at some point I mentioned that I was going through the previous live sessions to extract the questions that I have not answered, but it was taking so much of my time. So I would probably do one full video of all the questions I have not answered during this series. Maybe one of these days, if I don't come on live, just know that I will do a video to answer all of these questions, and then I'll post that video. But my goal is actually to come on live so that I can answer as much as I can. But if there is any day I don't come on live, I'll just pick all the questions I've not been able to answer and then create a video for them and upload them. Okay, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And hope to see you tomorrow. Fingers crossed, by God's grace, all of us being alive and well and healthy. Let's see tomorrow. Let's have another conversation tomorrow concerning Alberta. I mentioned that I'll be talking about Alberta tomorrow, the options that are available, what people should know about Alberta, so that you can position yourself. If you feel that Alberta will be the best province to move to, you would know tomorrow. So let's see tomorrow. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful, see me, I'm tired of talking. Have a beautiful evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night rest. Thank you.